Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. So here's the situation. I, 26 female, have a bit of a family drama, and I need to know if I'm the a-hole here. My mom married my stepdad when I was 14. He had a son who was 17 at the time, now 29. And then my mom and stepdad had one more child together, who is now 14 male. Neither my stepbrother nor half-brother are close to me. Our parents tried hard to make this big blended family work, but it never did. We fought like hell and ignored each other at other times, but whoever instigated the fights, stepdad always found it to be my fault, and my mother did nothing to help my cause. This naturally led to a very fractured relationship, and I ended up moving out to my own place at 19. I've been living on my own for a while now. I have maintained minimal contact with my stepdad and stepbrother. I have an alright relationship with my mother, and I visit only on special occasions or holidays only. 2 years ago, my stepdad had a health scare and decided to make a will. He excluded me because I'm not his biological child, which wasn't at all surprising given our history. I wasn't surprised nor hurt, but they made a great show of how I'm excluded because I'm not a part of their inner circle family. Okay, alright, whatever. But what really stung was that my mom didn't even try to make me feel better about it. After this, I limited my contact even further. Fast forward to early 2024, I was contacted by a lawyer who informed me that my grand aunt, my dad's mother's sister, had passed away and left everything to me. I wasn't very close to her, but I checked in on her occasionally. She was the one who brought my dad up, who was the youngest, mainly since my late grandma apparently had too much on her plate. She left me roughly $3 million in a trust fund. I didn't tell anyone and quietly bought myself a house and a rental property, then put the rest in the bank. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what to do with the rest of the money. Somehow, my cousin found out about the inheritance and told my mom. Now, my mom, stepdad, and step-siblings are all calling me, telling me I'm terrible and unfilial for not sharing the money, especially since finances haven't been great since my stepdad got sick. My stepdad messaged me to say I need to help out my siblings. I told them no, and now they're all acting like I'm the biggest a-hole in the world. When my mom asked why I never even thought to let her know, I pointed out how distant we have grown over recent years thanks to her own doing. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for not sharing my inheritance with my family? Update. It's been a few weeks since my first post and some things have happened. I would say things have gone from bad to much worse. After the initial blow-up with my family, my mom reached out and asked to meet and talk. We decided to meet at a public place because I had a feeling things might go crazy. The whole thing was super awkward. My mom started by telling me how they've been struggling to pay my half-brother's private school fees since my stepdad got sick and his work hours were cut. She then went on about how they've been wanting to renovate the house, how she needs a break from this mental toll and would love to go on a vacation. Not once did she inquire about my life or how I'm doing. I just listened. I was growing more and more uncomfortable. I asked her to cut to the chase and she basically said, without a hint of hesitation, she would expect me to write her a check for $1 million. She said technically it should all be her money since it's her late husband's inheritance, but said she's okay with 1/3. She was growing crazier, so I paid the bill and hurriedly left. Since then, my mom has been going around calling me a thief, saying that the inheritance should have been hers anyway, as it's my late dad's money. My stepdad sent me a wall of text saying I cannot only think of myself when I'm part of a bigger family, and my decisions should be inclusive of my family as well. I carefully reminded him how he didn't include me in his will because I wasn't family enough. That shut him up, but now things are crazier than ever. My mom and stepdad have been bad-mouthing me to everyone who will listen, and I'm kinda scared about what they might do next. I will update again if things change, but right now it's a mess. Thanks for all your support and advice, Reddit. Last update. I wanted to thank everyone for the advice and support on my last post. I'm kind of over this whole thing, but stuff keeps happening, so here's what happened. I recently received a letter from a lawyer stating that my mom is suing me for her inheritance. Shortly after, my stepdad sent me a message saying I will regret not sharing my money because now they're going to take me for everything I'm worth. I panicked and forwarded the letter to my attorney. My attorney actually laughed and threw the letter away. He informed me that my grand-aunt's will is airtight and there is no way my mom can legally claim anything from the inheritance because she isn't even her descendant. He also looked into the lawyer listed on the letterhead and found that the address was sketchy and the phone number was out of service. It looks like my parents might have employed a shady lawyer just to scare me. It's crazy to me. They actually thought I could be scared into giving up my money. So I'm feeling much better about the whole situation now. I've decided to take some time off from work and travel with my friends next week. I'm too stressed and I've been losing a lot of sleep, and I think a little break will do me good. Thanks again for all the support, Reddit. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, but for now I'm just going to try to relax and enjoy my time with friends. You're not an a-hole, OP. I'm glad they have nothing on you and your grand-aunt's will is airtight. Your mother ruined her relationship with you, and she would have been fine with living like that if you didn't get an inheritance. Now she wants to be a mother and she wants you to be a good daughter and share your inheritance with her and her husband who didn't write you in his will because you're not his biological child. Why on earth would you want to give any money to these people? They don't deserve the money or you. They're greedy and selfish, and I hope you're able to cut them out of your life. Story 2. Am I the a-hole? My sister wants me to adopt her baby, but I want a different kid. I know this is a little above this sub's pay grade, but there's not many people I can talk to in real life, so I'm turning to the internet. My husband had shitty birth parents, so he and his siblings were removed and put into the adoption system. They tried to keep the siblings together, but at the time they were put in, my husband and his full brother were far older than their younger half-sibling. The younger two, a baby and a toddler, were adopted almost immediately. Then my husband was adopted at 10, and his older brother aged out at 18. The oldest three reunited, but they're still looking for the youngest. My husband and I want to adopt. Ideally, we want to adopt siblings so we can keep them together, and preferably older kids, 10 plus. As we know, it's harder for older kids to get adopted. Obviously, it totally depends on the kids we meet and who we work with as a potential family, but we feel very strongly about adopting older siblings and keeping them together. So if we were to really click with an older but unrelated children or found a set of siblings that included children younger than 10, we would adapt that plan for them. The process takes a while, but we're nearly at the end of it. We've been approved as adoptive parents and were matched with 2 siblings recently. But something happened with their birth family, so the adoption was denied. We've been told that they will rematch us very soon, but we've been waiting to hear back for a while now. There was meant to be an open day at a local home, but it's been postponed due to current events. Enter my youngest sister. She's 19, in university and pregnant. She was going to terminate but couldn't bring herself to do it. She reached out to us asking us to adopt her child. We are approved as adoptive parents. We have a decently sized house with more than enough room. She and the father would willingly allow us to adopt the baby. And it would be a very short process for us because we are basically good to go here. However, due to the reasons stated above, this isn't exactly what we had in mind in terms of adopting. We're open to changing that plan, but there's also the issue of my sister being the biological mum. She says she can handle watching me potentially raise her baby, but I can't see this not causing issues, and feel like if she's going to adopt out, she should do it with a couple who aren't so close to home. We explained this and refused. Since then, various relatives, none of whom can take the baby for various reasons, have contacted us asking why we can't take the baby. We've explained and re-explained everything, but we are getting called selfish, mean, cruel for being picky because we are at a place in our lives where we can have a baby and we're turning it down. We thought about asking our friends who are also trying to adopt what they think, but saying my sister offered me a baby but we don't want it would be pretty tone deaf when some of them have been waiting years for one. And the whole sentiment combined with my family's arguments has made us feel incredibly guilty. So we're turning to the internet. Are we the a-holes? Information: we're in the UK, and my husband and I have both been in our current employment for over 2 years, meaning we both have full access to paternity and maternity leave. We took adoptive parenting classes that included baby stuff, so we are able to look after a baby, both in terms of competence and finances, but we do feel we'd prefer an older child, preferably children, and we don't know if having a baby could affect our current adoption attempts. We want multiple children as we're both from big families, and a baby in the house could cause an issue as we're trying to adopt older children. For example, they might think we just want a free babysitter. Update: I told my sister about our friends mentioned earlier, how they're a great couple who have been trying to adopt a baby for 5 years now, how they have fostered babies and taken all the classes and know what they're doing, how they live locally and are willing to have an open adoption, and again repeated that myself and my husband don't want to adopt a baby. My sister said that open adoption to a couple of strangers wouldn't work for her, and a couple hours later said that mom and dad are going to help her out. So it looks like the baby will live with them for the next few years, and my sister and a boyfriend will take over when they can. Everyone now feels like I'm somehow at fault for my parents not getting to enjoy the beginning of their retirement. But I no longer feel guilty, as it's clear that was what my sister wanted all along. Someone to raise the baby for a few years so she could step in as the mother whenever it suited her. You did your best, OP. You're not the a-hole. You had your plan all along, and it would be good to go with it. It's a good plan. A well-needed plan that has the potential to be the best thing that would happen to 2 older kids in the system who are siblings. I won't fault your sister for asking you to adopt her baby, but from your update, it's obvious she didn't state what she really wanted. She wanted someone to care for her baby while she goes on with her life, and then when she feels ready, she can come back and take the baby. She doesn't want to relinquish her rights to the kid, which is understandable, but she shouldn't have made you the villain when one of your reasons for not wanting to adopt her child was true, and she knew it. I hope you get to adopt like you wanted. Good luck. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for slamming the door in my sister-in-law's face? My sister-in-law, we'll call her Emma, is married to a huge dick named Dan. To give you an idea of what he's like, he's cheated on Emma with 4 different girls in the past 2 years and has made several embarrassing or demeaning comments about Emma in front of us. We've tried talking to Emma about him multiple times and reminded her often that she can always stay with us if she feels unsafe, but she brushes us off and denies everything. A couple of weeks ago, we, Emma, Dan, me, wife, and our 2 kids, 9 female and 5 male, were eating dinner together at my house. My son accidentally dropped a plate and broke it. We didn't think it was that big of a deal, but Dan started yelling at my son and telling him that he was worthless, useless little shit. I had to step between them to get him to stop, and by then I was seeing red. I told Dan to get the F out of my house and that if he came back, I would call the police on him for trespassing. Then I told Emma that she was welcome to come back anytime as long as Dan was not with her. They both left immediately. Well, we've been worried about Emma since then, so we decided to invite her over for dinner again. We reminded her that Dan was not welcome, and she said that she understood. Yesterday, the doorbell rang when Emma said she'd be at our house, and I answered it. Emma and Dan are standing there on our porch. I said out loud, "For F's sake," and slammed the door on them. Wife heard and came out after a couple of minutes to try and get them to stay, but they had already driven off. Wife is pissed because she thinks I should be more understanding because Emma is going through a lot, and it's not easy to leave an abusive relationship. Kids are devastated because they love their aunt and don't know why they can't see her. My son is convinced it's his fault even though we've told him that it isn't. I just can't justify continuing to expose my children to that kind of behavior. I know that Emma is suffering, but I need to protect my children first. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole for not putting up with his behavior, but please talk to your sister and don't shut her out. If she is in an abusive relationship, your behavior could be putting her in more danger and will give Dan more reasons to hurt her. Trust me, I was in a relationship like that, and what my family did was always my fault. Is there a women's support group or other professionals in your area that you could talk to and get help on this matter? Not the a-hole. You can only do so much, and Emma needs to realize on her own that she needs to get out of that relationship. You can still offer her shelter and monitor what's going on with her without having them over for dinner. Also, your wife's concern for her sister is laudable, but she should be more concerned for her sister's abusive husband turning that abuse on your children. Your wife's concern right now should be more about making sure your kids realize it is entirely Dan's fault for being a dick and not their fault.